I'd like to call this June 11th, 2026 Board of Education work session to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mr. Helms? Here. Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
Mrs. Hausum?
Here.
All present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next on the agenda are strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan, which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next on the agenda, we have the election and oath of office for our board vice president. Do I have any nominations?
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Eric Wall.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
We don't need a motion.
No.
It's just a
Thank
roll
you.
call vote.
Thank you, George. Go ahead, do the roll.
So I'm going to do the roll call in order. As I call your name, just say yes or no. Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Wall. You want to meet me at the podium? We could do the oath of the vice president. Do you solemnly affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duty as Vice President of the Strongsville Board of Education to the best of your ability, in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuous and said office until your successor is chosen and qualified? If so, please say.
I do. Thank you.
I just gave it to you so you could read it along.
All right, thank you, Eric. Next on the agenda, we do have an agenda change. The following change was made to the agenda: addition of action item under Section L, Human Resources, Item 6, Leadership Appointment. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ryba for recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. We do have a number of recognitions annually at this meeting. We recognize employees that have been honored throughout the year, as well as the great partnership with our PTA. So I'm going to have Bill Burdick come up to the podium to start this off with the recognition of Strongsville Knights of Columbus Teacher of the Year Award.
You need to go back on vacation.
I know, right? I got it.
Not a problem. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. It's our annual being here at the meeting with the Board of Education to announce our Teacher of the Year. It's hard to imagine 10 years ago, as I was stepping down as the Grand Knight of the Council, coming up with a concept that I worked with probably like 6 years prior with Keith Budishwar over at Sarar Elementary School, of having an award to recognize our educators because they are so much involved with our kids and everything like that, and our kids are our pride and joy. To my right, I have the current Grand Knight, Jeff Brannick, and tonight we are going to be recognizing Kimberly Scott as this year's Teacher of the Year award. So Kimberly, if you could come on up. And Jeff will provide the award to you. And then a parting gift, a certificate from the council. We don't have rice or roni or I'm dating myself, sorry. But thank you very much, and all your commitment to the school and everything like that.
I appreciate
You're
that
welcome.
so much. Is it okay if I just say a little
Please,
something?
go
right ahead.
All right, well, thank you. I was so very humbled to receive this. My colleagues surprised me at the end of the year, and I think so much of this is due to all the hard work of the teachers and the students I work with. They are paramount in wanting to be inspired and changing, and I'm just happy that I was able to come along for the journey. So I thank Jenny for nominating me and having trust in me, and the board for just supporting this position. For the last 5 years, I think we've done really good work in the schools, and I'm eager for it to return when we're in a better position in the future. So thank you so much to everybody. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Kim, I think the board members would like to shake your hand and say congratulations. That's okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's customary.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations. So much.
Keeping the recognitions going, I'm going to ask Katie Drake, our PTA Council President, to come up to start the recognitions for the PTA this year.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite things to do, is recognize our amazing teachers and staff that support our schools. So I'm actually going to have the person who nominated the Whitney teacher and have her come up and read her nomination before we present it. Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for the school board for having us. I am on the Whitney Elementary PTA board. It's been an honor serving the PTA board this year. And when we had the task of trying to narrow down a teacher that we wanted to recognize and submit to Katie, you know, Strongsville is so lucky to have so many great teachers. And when we first sat down, we're like, how do we decide this? There's so many great memories and moments with teachers that we have, and we're so lucky in all these, you know, schools to have so many great teachers. We sat down and we really thought outside the box, and Olivia Fadenholz came to mind. She is our music teacher at Whitney Elementary. She leads our choir. And remind me again, how many years have you been here? 3. This is her 3rd year, and she filled the big shoes of Miss Gonzi, who led our program for years and years and had this great Veterans Day program that she led. And Olivia came in and just seamlessly just took it over graciously. And our choir, she's just the person that we count on as a PTA. She shows up when we need her. She's our go-to person if we ever need anything. So it was just really a no-brainer when it came down to who really deserves this. One example in particular, elementary schools, bus lines, pick up at the end of the day, it's crazy. All the kids are in the hallway, and it's hard to control those kids in the hallway, especially the first couple of days of, the new school year. And Olivia just came out one time, not even asked. She could have gone home for the day. And she came out with a ukulele. And she just started walking calmly through the halls with her ukulele, and everyone just calmed down. She just had the whole school happy, singing. And that's just one of many examples of why she's so deserving of this award and recognition. So please welcome me in introducing Ms. Olivia Fadenholz.
I just want to say thank you so much. Whitney is a fantastic school to be at. Strongsville is a fantastic district to be at. I always remember when I got the phone call from Jenny saying, congratulations, you've been hired, and this was like 5 years ago now. And you said something along the lines of, whatever happens, and when you're having good days and bad days, just remember this feeling right now. And I do go back to that a lot because I feel very blessed to be here, and I'm just very honored about this whole presentation, so thank you very much.
So people, I'm from the high school PTA as well, so I get to talk about our next award winner for Helping Hands. And I'm going to read the nomination that was sent in from Kelly Prejerin. She was the one who actually nominated her. Jen Orlowski is the kind of employee every school hopes to have. As a secretary to the principal, she keeps the school running smoothly and truly sets apart as how much she does beyond her job description, especially for a PTA. Jen is always willing to help, no matter how busy she is. She assists with scheduling PTA meetings, helps send out important emails, and makes sure we have accurate student lists for events like After Prom and the graduation banner. And the graduation banner itself is like a beast, so God bless her. It is trying to remember everyone's names and spell them correctly. These tasks are all behind the scenes, but they are essential. And Jen handles them with care, patience, and incredible attention to detail. In addition to this, Jen serves as the senior class advisor. She supports students during one of the most important times of their high school experience and does so with kindness, organization, and genuine dedication. Students and parents alike know they can count on her. What makes Jen truly outstanding is her attitude. She is approachable, dependable, and always ready with a smile. She treats everyone with respect and makes working together easy and enjoyable. Our PTA simply could not function effectively without her support. Jen's commitment to our school and community goes far beyond her title. We are incredibly grateful for everything she does. She is more than deserving of this PTA award. So our Helping Hand winner, Jen Orlowski.
Gabby back there.
Yes, she wanted to
Well,
share for you.
thank you. It's such an honor to receive this, and I work in such a great community and a great school, and it doesn't happen just with me. It's with everybody in the building, and great support from Mr. Wingler and the PTA, who is just amazing in our building, so thank you.
Look at number 4.
So I also, can I just segue into the next part?
Please, yes.
Okay.
And Katie, just let me know when you're ready to change slides.
Or I'll be like, slide, please. I feel like I'm in a TED Talk. I wanted to do something more visual. This is a teacher in me to talk about the hours that the PTA did. And I'm immensely proud of our PTAs this year, as you can see as we go through the slides. But they are an amazing community to work with. Our leaders give so much, and obviously no one gets paid anything. So I'm always so blessed to be with people who genuinely care. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Oh, I don't think this is a good idea. Okay. Which button do I push? Okay, that one. So this year we had 1,408 total PTA members, which is up from last year. And I wanted to show a picture of Kinsner. I asked every unit to send me a picture of something they were proud about that they did this year, so I could give some visual. And Kinsner was very proud of their fun run, and they raised a lot of money, and that's the picture they sent me. And I need to go back to, this is a very big number, but we are also in a place where enrollment is kind of dropping, so we're working on ways to build community, and we'll get to that slide. Next. So a year of impact. This is what we did this year. We had book fairs, we had carnivals, preschool prom, family movie nights, PBIS incentives, the parade, lunch with an athlete, holiday shops, family math and science nights, after prom, and bingo nights. And this is just like a small portion and countless other programs that brought families together and enriched the educational experience for all our students. And there's so much more that I wanted to put on there, but there was not enough room, and I was really mad at PowerPoint at that point, so we just moved on. We've also been supporting our schools, investing in students and staff, tens of thousands of dollars in teacher and school grants, playground improvements, outdoor learning and gathering spaces, staff appreciation events, and partnerships with DARE, SEF, Kiwanis, and the Rotary. And I was really excited this year, we were able to bring the coffee truck to the admin building as well as out to the transportation center as well. And I think that really meant a lot to them as a council, or as a PTA council, we want to make sure that we value the admin building as well as the bus drivers. And then I wanted to also highlight Whitney was able to get their pavilion up, and that was funded by the PTA, but the district did help with the concrete. But all the money came from outside donations and then grants they wrote. And I just wanted to show like an improvement of what the PTA also does, and even using like playground equipment and crazy pavilions. I couldn't imagine, but I'm really proud of them. All right, investing in students. The council this year awarded $9,000 in grants, which we talk about during the holiday luncheon, but we also awarded $5,000 in senior scholarships. We will talk about our partnership with DARE and our fall and spring dances, but council has been able to increase its ability to support student opportunities through the district. So we're hoping next year we can give away, do more scholarships, especially around volunteering. A lot of our events run because of students, especially high school students, wanting to get service hours, and that they really are the backbone of how we do things. So we're going to be hopefully pivoting and giving more scholarships next year. Growing for the future, our new DARE partnership, which is very exciting this year. We are now partnering with DARE to do our Halloween dance as well as the spring dance, which is really great because we realized we were saturating the market with dances, and kids just don't want to dance anymore, to be honest. So being able to combine that has been a great partnership and has also given us more financial bandwidth. Something new this year we started was an inclusion committee, which was started by Becky Jones and Julie Collison. And they are going across the district and bringing everyone together. And they actually do monthly meetups in different places to be able to have people bring their kids that may have more on the spectrum or on the MI classrooms and give them a community and a resource. We added 3 new members at large because our board is very small. And I realized if I wanted to do anything, I needed more people. But really something we wanted to focus on was transitions because we don't have a membership. Council itself is just an oversee of all the other units, but we wanted to do something that really helped with those transitions since we don't have a school building per se. So we're looking at kindergarten entry. We have 1 person for each one, 5th grade into 6th grade and 8th grade into high school. And Dr. Ribe has been so kind to listen to all my ideas and give me a little bit of bandwidth to do things. So together we are creating programs that help our students feel connected, supported, and prepared for success. And this is the amount of hours. I am so proud of this number. So almost over 20,000. Anything that's over 20,000 is amazing. So I just wanted to really highlight that and just talk about how incredible, again, the PTAs are here. I am so honored to work with the board I have and all the different presidents. So, and thank you to the district for always having our back and partnering with us. We are so grateful to be able to do great things for our children. So that's it, guys. I'm going to give you back your pointer.
What,
Sure.
if you, yeah, sure, yeah.
No, I just said I can shake.
No, I don't want you. Okay.
Up here.
Thank you.
But it really
Thank you
should
so
be
much.
the whole.
No, thank you.
I know.
You got it. Yeah.
We should shake the hands of your family that lets you
I
do all of
know.
this,
I
right?
know.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, Kim, Jen, Olivia, everything that was said by the people that nominated you is just 100% accurate. We were blessed to have you in our district for so long, Kim and Jen and Olivia, blessed to still have you as a part of it. And Katie, I know you said this when you're up here, that, you know, this is everybody's work, and it truly is. But everybody, a team needs a great leader, right? And you're a great leader for that team, and it's been an honor and privilege to work with you over the past year, and I look forward to the time we're going to spend together years to come, moving forward. It is 100% sincere. So, no, I appreciate the work that everybody does on behalf of our kids, because we wouldn't be able to do as much as we do without the countless hours of support that our parents provide. So thank you on behalf of all of us. Laura, any final comments before we move on to the next?
Just ditto what Dr. Ryba said. That's how I got started in the district, was by joining the PTA and made some lifelong friends, and I miss those days, so enjoy them while you're there.
I'm so good at Helen.
And Olivia, Kim, and Jen, congratulations. Kim, thanks for all you did for our district. Enjoy your retirement. And Jen and Olivia, we'll see you all back here in August.
Before we go on with the agenda, I did want to bump something up. As Ms. Hausum read, we did have an agenda change, and that's because we were able to solidify a key leadership position in our district earlier this week. And so as we've talked about in past board meetings, we did some changes organizationally in our operations side of our work, specifically with our technology department. And one of those key positions was a technology manager position, which is a new position that takes kind of two jobs and puts them into one for us. And you go into that, and anytime you have these key leadership positions, there's a sense of anxiety when you go look, right? You're excited about the opportunity to move forward, but that opportunity, the anxiety is there until you find the right person. And I knew after meeting him that we found the right person. And then when we called his district to tell him that we were offering the job, I was 100,000% sure that we had the right person, because although they are colleagues and some of them are dear friends of mine, it's going to be a huge loss for the district that he's coming from, a great gain for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Jenny to do some introductions, and then we can all meet Jason.
Yeah, they always joke with us that we take their bus drivers, and now we
Yeah.
took their tech person. So, yeah, we're going to be owing them for a little bit, but that's okay. So just a little bit about the process and how we got to Jason as our final recommendation to the board. I think we had over 44 candidates that applied for the position. And as Cameron said, it's a little unique because the position is really going to have to work with several of our departments together. Starting with the tech department overall, one of the things that was very important to us is that we're safe, that our kids are safe online, that we have that balance between being safe and yet still being innovative in the things that we can do and provide for our students and preparing them for their future. So that was really important to us. And then also just making sure everything works. We have a lot of technology in our district, a lot of programs that our students use. And especially at the start of the year when we have the transition and onboarding everybody, making sure we had the right person in place that is able to navigate all of those systems with ease and making sure that everybody is set up for success. And no doubt that Jason has been doing that and will continue to do that here. Although our programs are a little different in their names, they're similar systems, and I'm sure he'll adapt quite easily. The other part is the instructional part, which is near and dear to me. I want to continue not just sticking with things that we've stuck with because that's just what we do, but to think of all the new things out there that could be really helpful to our students in their learning and also to our teachers and the tools that they use in the classroom. So undoubtedly, throughout the process, Jason continued to emerge as that person that really has all of those things. I have no doubt that he is going to take us to the next level here in Strongsville. So Jason, if you want to come up to the podium and share a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I'm so excited. The interview process was amazing. I felt fully, involved, and it felt mutual, I feel like, the whole time. So I'm very happy, and thank everybody for the opportunity. A little bit about myself on a personal level. I have a wife and 2 kids. We live in Brunswick. I have a special needs son, so working with the Student Services Department has always felt very at home with me. They're going into 6th and 8th grade, so I got 2 middle schoolers at the middle school right now, so it's crazy in my house. But on a professional level, I was in the military out of high school. After that, I went to school a little bit, and I got hired at age 22 or 23 at Brunswick. I don't know if I should be saying Brunswick anymore, because I might meet somebody in the parking lot. But anyway, so I'm very happy to be here. I was a technician in Brunswick for my first 2 years. Then I got promoted to technician 2. And for the past 4 years, I've been a software and communication specialist, dealing a lot with data, dealing a lot with working with all the different departments to make sure that our students' data is safe, our software is up to date and secure, And, just making sure that we're bridging that gap between the technology side and the department side. So making sure everybody feels heard and comfortable with the technologies that we're supporting in the district. So I just want to thank everybody so much for this opportunity. I'm very pumped to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, Ms. Hausum, I'll turn it back over to you for the rest of the agenda.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to pause for a second if anyone needs to leave, if there's any Mitchell's Ice Cream on the agenda for the rest of the evening. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public comment. I don't have any slips. Is there anyone wanting to make public comment? No? Okay, all right, then we will move into approval of minutes. We have 4 sets of approvals for tonight. Motion to approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2026 work session. All audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes and are available upon request through the treasurer's office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital platform. We had a motion to approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2026 special board meeting. Those minutes can be found on our website. Next, we have motion to approve the minutes of the May 21st, 2026 special board meeting. And motion to approve the minutes of the May 28th, 2026 regular meeting. All audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes and are available upon request through the treasurer's office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital online platform. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ryba for a superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. The first one we're going to start with is the levy and bond discussion. So on Monday, we held a community leaders meeting, which included about 27 participants, and we went through a process, and I'm going to turn it back over to Laura to give a summary of that. And number 2 on the agenda, if you're watching at home or here, is a summary of that feedback that I think you're going to talk from. So we'll put that up on the screen and start there.
Okay. All right, so we were able to share this with the board members earlier this week. And just to give it a little background about what we did, the board had the idea that we wanted to get more community feedback on our operating issue and our bond issue. And Dr. Ryba and Mr. Agnostu took that idea and ran with it. Dr. Ryba came up with a list of participants from civic groups, city council, the mayor's office, all the way to our clergy from local churches. And then George was able to work up an agenda for us to work off of. I think it's important to list the names of the civic groups that were there. We had the Strongsville GOP. We had 2 community business owners, the Women's League, our PTA, Democratic Club, the Strongsville Historical Society, the Strongsville Chamber of Commerce, Strongsville Rotary Club, Strongsville Instrumental Boosters, Strongsville City Club, our 4 Strongsville group, clergy from 2 of our local churches, Indivisible Strongsville, Strongsville City Council members, and Mayor Persiak. So that was a really well-rounded group, I thought. It was nice to see the room full. Like Dr. Ryba said, there were approximately 27 of us. I went to listen. I didn't want to, share my opinions or anything like that. So I sat quietly and I just took 3 or 4 pages of different notes, things that people said that caught my interest, things that maybe we haven't talked about yet. We had a member bring up, what happens if we hit the 20 mil floor? If the renewal levy fails, are we going to get there? And, when that 3 voting cycle goes through. We talked about, property taxes and how there's a push in the state now for property taxes to go away. So we were advised, don't put all our eggs in that basket for property taxes. There was more talk about doing more surveys of normal folks and getting the pulse of the community. It was shared that 85% of our voters in Strongsville are 55 years or older. We talked about how the absentees in our May bond levy really hurt us, the lack of the absentee chasers. Something that we haven't talked about is our bond rating, and a member of the group brought it up, like, at what point are we not a AA1 anymore? And how that would, it's more than just a seal on our website, how that could eventually affect interest rates for new construction and materials and everything. So I thought that was a good point. People shared their opinions about, operating first, then bond, operating bond combined. Talked about reductions, if we need to make reductions. We talked about, I thought this was another interesting, how we need to market and talk about, make sure our voters are voting the whole ballot. Like, normally our issues are at the end of the ballot, and sometimes people might, just go in and have people in mind and not be thinking about the issues. So might be something to consider marketing in the future. And, yeah, again, just more talk about what is the pulse of the community. I'm going to turn it over to Eric to add some more feedback.
I thought it was a really good session. Thanks, Dr. Rybra and Mr. Agonasti for putting that together, facilitating it, and really demystifying some of the paperwork that we get on a weekly basis that we process. Folks had a time to really have it explained to them and dig into the mechanics of it, which I thought was fantastic. There was a lot of engagement, I thought, overall. A lot of candid feedback of thinking out loud and being comfortable sharing that in a public setting. I thought was really good to get all of that to out and other people to engage with the other people's ideas. I thought was it was healthy to see where people were at. And I was pleased to see that when the results kind of come out, we were definitely clustering around a lot of the same ideas. And so we weren't far away from each other when we took, this vibe check really from the community. And I think it's important to note that we're not done. So this is sort of the first step at community involvement, and we're looking forward to having more sessions. And so if you feel like you're watching or listening and you wanted to be a part of it, feel free to contact us. And let's talk about that. And then we're also going to have further engagement sessions in some way, shape, or form. Those things are going to take place for us to keep listening and keep evolving this, because this bond and levy isn't something that's happening to the residents and the voters of Strongsville. It really is something that's happening with them. And this is a great forward face on us listening and reacting and taking that into consideration and making sure that the values of our community are reflected in the investments we make to continue our education here.
And at the end, it was nice to see different groups shaking hands. It made me feel like our schools are nonpartisan. We're all in the same boat here to work together. So I walked away with a very positive feeling. Cameron, George, you guys want to add anything?
I think as both of you have stated, I think the conversation was good, and I think everyone there, regarding of issues, they all cared about the school district, and they want the school district to succeed moving forward. So everyone had a vested interest, and I thought the conversation went well, and kind of gave some insight of, and I think you'll go over it, we got some feedback too based on some of the questions that the board was considering as well.
I think one of the things is, I know a chart that George will go over here in a little bit, he put together based on some of the work he's been doing, but as you could see in the operating issues column, there was pretty good consensus on, hey, let's stick with that 90 days cash in the last year of the forecast. That made sense to people, and having an operating levy last that long, 4 to 5 years, as you could see, had good traction. So that leads to a good initiation of decisions that could be made based on some congruence around that idea that, hey, this is a good ballpark time frame for this to last. As you could also see, There was also a lot of similar views of we need to do this in parallel work with reductions. So whenever we're ready to have George go over some of those charts that he put together, I just wanted to give this as a foundation that is reflected in his charts, which lean more into some specificity about what it could be, considering 90 days cash in last year forecast, which gives us that 4 to 5 year range, paired with some sort of reduction planning as a part of it.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right,
So do you want to go to that chart and have George give a high-level overview of it?
yes.
And that chart that Dr. Rival was referencing is item 1 on the agenda, levy modeling 90 days cash scenarios. And it's the first tab for those that are watching. There's various different scenarios that are other tabs. That's under the summary tab from what we discussed before, but I just added on to the same sheet. What the, let me make this a little smaller. What the charts represent, and I numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4. Tabs 1, or chart 1, just to kind of go over that one quickly, or briefly. First is if we go in November 2026. These are for operating issues. So just a couple things to remember when looking at these, the comparisons between the charts. If we go in November 2026, it's a timing. It's and these are for property tax issues. Let me clarify for that. For a property tax issue. So if we go in November of 2026, we can start collecting on those dollars beginning in calendar year 2027. So January 1, they'll be on the tax duplicate and on the tax bills. So we'll get that money immediately. So that has a carryover impact when those dollars are collected. Charts 3 and 4, that is if a new levy is approved in calendar year 2027, regardless if it's May or November of 2027. If it's approved then, we won't start collecting those dollars until calendar year 2028, so a year difference. So what that means is either it's a year delayed that we would have the money coming in, so the ask or the reductions would need to be larger to get to that same endpoint for the fourth year of the forecast. So, for example, what I have here, and another key point of context too is based on the community leaders survey. If you go back further down, everyone understood that we have another renewal levy that was first approved in 2002. That's on renewal. Earliest it can go on is this November. If it's not approved by next November, it expires. And then they also understood that we need new operating funds. The consensus from the group, as you can see in the numbers, was that we shouldn't do two separate issues. We should just look at one combined new levy for what we need. So based on that, that's kind of what these charts reflect is the first line, it is that, just so you have a baseline, the first line in each of the charts, it's the renewal amount. If it was just the renewal, the current effective rate, the initial voted rate back in 2002 was 6 mils, but due to the impact of House Bill 920, and what that means is as valuations increase, the effective rate decreases, so it's still collecting the same value, the same number of dollars that it was supposed to generate back in 2002. So the annual amount is $8.2 million, and we would need about 3.37 effective mills to collect that. So if there were no reductions and the 2030 cash balance is 32.8, a deficit of 32.8 million, which we can have. And that's reflective of the November forecast. So in order to balance that out, if we just do the renewal, we would need about $17.6 million of annual cuts beginning in school year 27-28, and those would carry forward every year. That would give us a cash balance in fiscal year 2030 of 19 million, which is about 90 cash days in that fiscal year. So going down, for 4 million, it would generate $9 million. Reductions would need about 14.3 million to get to the same spot in 2030, and so on. So does everyone kind of follow how the chart works? And in this scenario, a 10 mil levy, which would generate about 22.5 million, with no reductions, would get us to the same spot, or a little bit more in 2030, in that aspect. And then the other thing that I did was, this was actually good feedback from the community meeting, as most of those guys were big business leaders, and they said, what would it cost us monthly? We kind of just want the monthly amount. As I'm selling something, I give them what the monthly amount is. So within each chart, for each scenario, I put what the annual cost is for 100,000 and the monthly amount for 100,000. So just kind of, since my mouse is there, for the 6 mills, the annual cost for $200,000 or $100,000 house is $210. The monthly amount is $17, and so on. So that is chart 1. Any questions on the chart before I go through the different scenarios? No? All right. Chart 2, the question that also came up was, well, you have money in the 070 fund. It should be viewed as the same. So if we decide to bring the money back from the 070 fund to the operating fund to be used for operating dollars, what does that look like? So I drew back 15 million. There's 21 million there now. The reason I drew back 15 million is, so far we've already committed to go out for bid for turf. So I kind of backed out that 3.3 million. And then also, just as safety, I backed out the 2.5 that was set aside for the Muraski debt, just in case if anything is done there. So just want to let you know what was backed out, in case we go a different direction. So if we bring back, and this is just for illustration purposes, if we bring back 15 million, then you can kind of see what the reductions would be, the annual reductions would be for the same millage amount, for those same scenarios. And it would be a one-time drawback in that aspect. And then slides 3 and 4, same concept, but if it was approved in calendar year 2027, so you can see the reductions would be at a larger scope with the same ask, just a year later. So for example, just looking at chart 3, for a 6 mil levy, if it was approved in November 26, the reductions would need to be 9.4 million to get to the same spot in 2030, versus if we started collecting in calendar year 2028, we would need reductions of 13.6 million, so about a $4 million difference. So just wanted to put this together as the board is considering which direction to go forward, just as another reference document. And then just kind of going over timeline again. For a bond, at the June 30th meeting, if we decide to move forward with the bond, we would need to adopt that 4% consent resolution to send to the tax commissioner. If we could always pull that one back if we decide to not move forward, but if we do want to move forward, that would have to be done at the next board meeting. And then resolutions 1 and 2 for the county, resolution 1 would need to be done July 9th, and then resolution 2, which would go on the ballot, would need to be prior to July 28th is the filing deadline, so sometime before that, I had marked on July 23rd if we decide to hold a special board meeting. And then for operating levy, this is for property tax, the board would need to adopt resolution 1 or 2 for the county, either at June 30th or July 9th, and resolution 2 by July 23rd. And then if, just throwing it out there, as it was brought up in the community meeting, if income tax is considered, it would follow the same timeline. However, resolution 1 would go to the tax commissioner, not the county, and then resolution 2 would go to the Board of Elections, the county. So any questions on any of that?
I'd just like to add one thing, George, if you can go back to the chart. That one. So when you start taking, these look like, these are big numbers, right? So one of the things that I think it's important to consider is that when we've got consistent feedback, combine the issues into one. So you've got to take a look at how much is, and this is on the renewal levy current and past tab.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up. I had that in my mind to bring it up.
Yeah. So if you take a look at the renewal levy, which they're saying, hey, put that together with something new, that, people are already paying on that. So it generates $8.2 million a year. People are already paying the tax on that. The 2019 levy was not renewed because, community said you have too big of a cash balance, spend it down. That was generating $9.7 million. Up until 2025, everybody was paying taxes on that amount. If you add that together, up until from 2019 or 2020 to 2025, per 100,000, people were paying $269 a month towards the school districts, and now they're paying of that 118, if you're following my math. So if you take a look at that, it was
Cameron, did you say a month or a year?
a year, I'm sorry, a year, thank you, Rich.
Just,
Yes. Yeah.
just
A
for
year.
clarification.
Yes, good catch. So if you take a look at those two, the 19 plus the 2002 levy together, we're generating about $18 million. And you look on George's other chart, that puts you at an 8 mil levy. An 8 mil levy now, if it's on the 26th ballot, or any of the ballots, is going to generate around $18 million. It's going to be $60,000 more a year than we were getting before. If you scroll over, that's going to cost per 100,000, $280 a year. So if you compare what were people paying in 2025 to what people will pay in 2027 if this passes, it's $11 more. So I just want to put that in context is, we're not truly saying this is a $280 ad. We're saying it's an $11 ad from what you agreed to pay for in the past, and you said, let's pause a little bit until you spend down your cash balance. Now, again, through George's charts, to get to the 90 days, in some of these, it's paired with reductions. If you move the 070 fund, there's no reductions if it passes in November, but that was something as George and I were working together this week. George did all of this. This isn't anything to do with me, but as we were talking through it, that's something that I thought was important to remember, that this is not a brand-new ask, since a lot of it is just kind of asking to get back to where we were from the 2019 level.
And the last piece I want to add to that, I forgot to bring up earlier, for the charts that bring back the 15 million, that also takes away, if the bond didn't pass, if we needed any critical needs to the buildings, and if we put this back in operating to use for, as Mr. Mick would say, for paychecks, it takes away from the critical needs of those buildings.
George, could we bring it back and create a line item for it so that it's still kind of sat separate, but it was still visible?
We can, but then we just have to acknowledge that it's not for, depending on what we want to do we want to bring it back and use it for paychecks, or do we want to bring it for capital? If we bring it back for capital, we would, at the time we want to use it, we'd be transferring it to the 003 fund,
Okay,
to be used out of the 003 fund, as that's the fund for
Right.
permanent improvement.
permanent improvement, okay. Other questions?
I don't know if I have a question as much as I have a comment. What Cameron brought up partially resonates with me, but I do think we get very tortured going back, and we continue to talk about the 2019 levy. We continue to talk about how much we were paying, how much we aren't paying, et cetera. We hit pause, et cetera. If I'm the taxpayer in the ballot box, I'm not thinking that deeply. What I do think would resonate is if we all agree, we should be able to say, this is what's happening now. This is what you're paying on your bill now. and this is the change that we're suggesting. So it does resonate with me that there is a portion of this money that we currently pay, that everyone currently pays, that is active, that is on the books. But I'd like to suggest that going forward, 2019, it just gets too confusing in my opinion, for anyone to keep track. Well, I was, and then it fell off, and then it came back on, but, if I go back 2 years, I was paying this much, but then we had an adjustment, a 3-year, and some of us, our taxes went up, and some of us, our taxes went down, et cetera. I do think we need to be as clear and plain as we can be, and so I would suggest that if we do decide to go forward with that plan of a single question for a levy, that this is the new ask, you're paying whatever that amount is today, and we're asking for the voter to approve an additional amount, which will increase your taxes by whatever that amount is, and to try to simplify that conversation. And that'll allow someone to be able to go ultimately to their most recent property tax bill and estimate what the next bill would be if it passes, and estimate what the next bill would be if it fails. I think it gets, if we expect the voter to have to get a spreadsheet out to figure out scenarios, I don't think we're being fair to the voter. Does that resonate, or does somebody have an alternate view?
I mean, yes, it resonates with me. I just feel like we put the cart in front of the horse, right? Like, I think we have to decide what we're doing first, but I understand what you're saying. I think in terms of our conversations, explaining it in the simplest ways is probably the best. And for those people who do want to engage on a deeper level, we do have the opportunity to share those things. And there will be people like that, and I know you will find them.
And George and I will talk to them when they show up. But we also need to be able to say, this is what you're paying now, this is what we are asking as an increase, and be able to communicate, assuming we, as a board, we agree that we should have an increase, be able to communicate, this is the increase. If it's X mil, if it's 10 mills, a number of those mills represents what we're paying already that will come off your books. So we're asking for that increase for the delta.
Yeah, Mr. Mickle, what you said resonates with me, and my comments were geared towards more for this discussion, and because I see you have got the election history on your screen. What you'll see on the election history is we have not passed anything that's in a millage around above 6, right? So there's historical data that says, hey, once you go above 6, this community struggles to say yes. So let's stay away from that. This gives color to say, hey, because of the context, we're in this realm. But I agree with you in terms of, communication simplicity.
But it's a good talking point. And it's simple enough that everyone would be able to understand it if you get into that conversation. Other questions or comments?
I think the only part that I would share that we haven't talked about tonight is just to, to put it out there, is based on the community discussion we had, I felt there was a sentiment of as you see it in there, of taking a look at a bond issue. We didn't spend as much time on the bond as the operating, and I think that was telling that people's focus was on the operating. So again, not enough conversation, I think, to fully say this is where they're at, but based on how long we spent talking about operating issues, and some of the survey data that's there was a pulse in there of, hey, operating is our primary focus.
Yes, if we didn't mention, we were there from 6 until 9 p.m.
And Ms. Salzman, at the next meeting, would need some sort of direction to bring back
for the July 9th meeting, if we want to bring back a resolution for operating.
Yep.
Or at that point, bond as well. But I think at the last meeting, we talked about, and let me know if this is, anyone's view has changed, the next meeting to bring the 4% consent resolution to the bond, knowing that we don't need to move forward with the other two. So are we still okay with that? And then,
I am.
I'm
I
good
think
with
we need
that.
as much flexibility as we can. There's too much information to try to make hard decisions today. But I'm certainly not in a position to say I'm ready to move away from certain decisions. And so having the ability to choose the bond for the November ballot, recognizing that we can pivot,
Right.
but I want to maintain that ability, whereas if we don't do the 4% resolution, we lose the ability. And
Correct.
I'm not ready to say, and that I would not advocate for that.
So if we do the 4% resolution at our next meeting, June 30th, we can make that resolution, and if we decide to move away, it goes away. And it doesn't tie us to any numbers for the bond. It's a timeline. We have to do it
Yep.
on that date.
Yeah, seems rude, just to get the time.
Mm-hmm.
and then at the June 30 meeting, would need some sort of direction
Yes.
for July 9th.
Yes.
George, we focus a lot on the revenue side of the ledger, and we've been talking a lot about cuts. I would find it helpful, because as Dr. Ryba pointed out, these are large numbers. If we could find representative districts that look like us, that we can see from a spending side, are we right-sized? Are we over, are we under? I think that's helpful, as we try to triangulate what a number feels practical.
Yeah. And we have that data. I could easily share a chart now just to give you some context. And for anyone following at home, I'm getting this chart from our annual budget document that is on the website under the Treasurer's Department, financial reports. So the one data point that is used is, you can look at expenditures as a total, but that doesn't really give you much based on the number of students. So the one benchmark that is used for comparative data is expenditures per pupil.
Okay.
So based on surrounding districts, this is our last fiscal year, our expenditure per pupil. So just looking at ours, that fiscal year, we were around close to 18,000, and you can kind of see how it's from 2020. 2020 was the COVID year, 21 was the COVID year, so this is more of a normal year, how it kind of increased with inflation over time. And then comparative to other districts, surrounding districts around us, we're right in the middle. So Rocky River is $21,000 a student. Westlake is about $21,000 a student as well. North Olmsted's about $19,000. Berea, who is our neighbor, is about $17,000. $17,009. We're at $17,000, almost nine, $17,857. Olmsted Falls, $17,200. Brecksville, $17,186. Medina, $16,568. North Royalton, $16,000, and Brunswick, close to $16,000. So we're kind of in the middle of our surrounding districts that are also similar to our size and demographic as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Is that helpful, or would you like to see more context too?
No, this is helpful. You're saying look at total dollar amount is sort of it's a difficult number to sort of look at in a way, draw conclusions from.
Right, because for example, Rocky River is a smaller district, so their expenditures are going to be lower
But if you look at it cost per pupil, their cost per pupil, they're spending more on the pupil than, base than we are. And same thing with, it kind of breaks it down what you're spending per pupil versus kind of looking at the overall bucket, because the districts are, different sizes.
Do we have some advantages with economies of scale
In what term?
by having so many more students? Does that give us more purchasing power? What drives some of the stuff behind these numbers, the $5,000 delta per student?
Depends on their, so think about it, schools are 85% people.
Mhm.
So it could be the number of positions they have, size of the classrooms.
So these are labor costs,
What's that?
big-time labor costs.
I would say 85%, 80 to 85% are labor costs. I don't know but even purchase services for us, like, we have close to $94 million budget, and maybe of that, 10% is purchase services. To kind of give you an idea, that's our second largest line besides.
Yeah.
So kind of give you an idea where the rest of the budget is. So you're not going to solve that deficit by cutting purchase services.
Sure. I found this helpful. I don't know if you guys did. Sorry. One at a tangent.
No, you're good. Anytime George has a chance to show off his budget. book.
That's right. Good plug, George.
But we shouldn't lose the opportunity. We are a very prudent, fiscally responsible district, and using that metric, I think we deliver a lot to the community. We deliver a lot to parents and families. You know, this one is public school districts. It's also interesting to start thinking about tuition at some of our private high schools, some of our other private elementary schools. All in all, we should be proud of the fact that we're not stretched so thin that we're at, you know, a number that's so low we're shortchanging ourselves, but
Sure.
we're also not so high that we're delivering a good value.
Yeah.
We're not Nordstrom's, I'm not gonna let you pick the other end of it. But
It goes back to that Honda example that we gave. Which is not a terrible place to be. I think you can be satisfied with that.
So as we get ready for, I'm sorry, go, Michelle.
I was just going to ask, and I think you have shared previously, but as I'm looking at all of George's work on this 90-day cash on hand, very, very few of the scenarios, and I'm talking 8 of them, have 0 reductions. So that leads me to believe that we have to make some kind of reductions, and that's in line also with what the survey data that we collected this week was. So for me, I think it's just important that we have that, a little bit more concrete understanding of what does $5 million in reductions look like before I pick that. Does that make sense? So hopefully, if at the next meeting, if it's at all possible, to have at least something to put side by side to make these feel more concrete for me rather than just numbers.
Yeah, we talked with our Colt team this week that, no later than the July meeting, but hopefully sooner we'll have that good, solid plan for you.
As far as the 15 million goes, just looking at like option 2 there, that's just a number we threw out there just to give us a thumb in the wind type of thing. Obviously, well, it can't really go up in terms of pulling back, but
Right.
it can adjust down, and then the reductions would obviously adjust with it, right?
Correct.
And then as far as like the millage amount, this might be just me asking the questions,
Yeah,
just to
that's
get an understanding. I liked these views, but like 3.37 millage amount, that's essentially the renewal, right?
That's the effective rate for the renewal.
And then if we're,
And just to be clear, that's the effective residential rate. The commercial is a little different than there's public utility. That's different as well. But just for this, that's the residential.
okay.
Sure, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I again, looked at it, yesterday and just digesting it. It's a nice look and, doing back of the napkin type of math too, just trying to understand it. So like, if you look at 3.37, maybe I'll just look at option 2, right, just for sake of ease. 3.37, and then for 0 reductions, get it up to a millage of an 8. So that's essentially new money of, what is that, 4.6 and change or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand how it all is connected.
Right.
So one of the,
That might be worthwhile to add a column that subtracts the current base. It shows the additional millage,
Okay.
right? You know, I don't need to tell you the formula, but
Yeah.
pretty much
No, I
minus
thought of it, I just didn't
3.37.
want to confuse it more than.
No, but I do think it's healthy to say this is the additional ask.
Right.
This is the increase ask.
Is it useful for us to go through and eliminate some scenarios that we just feel like are non-starters to create some focus, and then re-engage with our community and say, we have now narrowed our list of options that we find acceptable, and ask them for a steer, rather than having the full menu? Or are you not wanting to do that yet?
I think that's kind of what Michelle was alluding to. I think, you know, the spectrums aren't workable, right? Some of these cuts, it would be so draconian to reach that number. And so I do like the idea of getting some feel for what is not from a dollars and cents. That's the problem with the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet, if I adjust this here, the balance goes this way, and I like this millage number, or I like this dollar amount. I like this monthly dollar amount, but it divorces us from, is it a reasonable when we actually have to try to make those cuts? So I think Michelle is giving us a way to get there, to collapse those choices, because I'll speak for myself. To do nothing, to expect a solution that has no cuts is unreasonable. I don't know how I would advocate for it, but to have cuts so draconian just so that it's a no new tax ask, I don't know how I see myself doing that. But I want to be able to, I want to have Cameron help us have the conversation of what does this level of cut mean in programming?
Yeah. I mean, based on what you said, it would seem to me then scenario 1, 5, and 6 would be off the table from your point of view. Those would be radioactive.
When you say 1, 5, and 6.
Oh, he's on the old chart.
I'm on the summary one. Sorry.
Oh, you skipped ahead.
Oh, did I steal your?
No, that was the chart that we had last meeting, and
Are
based
we
on the
done with that chart?
on the conversation from last meeting, we're not done, it could wait, but.
Okay. I'm just,
2, 5, and 6.
1, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I think 1, 5, and 6 are difficult to try to come up with a roadmap to success. You know, for the public, I don't know if George has it, but for the public, 1 is no cuts. We've already said that no cuts doesn't work. 5 and 6, I think the cuts are so draconian, we wouldn't be able to actually have a reasonable conversation.
agree.
And then based on Cameron's comments and history, 3 would be difficult, right?
yeah,
Yeah. 3, yeah, seems, that would be a lift.
yeah.
Safe to say we've narrowed in on a few, or,
There you go,
I mean, at
Eric.
least we get a little bit focused, right?
Good
I'm
question.
trying to
Yeah.
narrow us in, like, we don't have to be committed to anything, but I think getting the range of what the art of the possible is and things that establishing healthy barriers versus, these things are off limits, I think is useful. Not only for us, but I think the public too, and if we get a group back, it'll help provide some focus on, here's where we need you to think deeply. And if we were armed with what that 5 million looks like ahead of that, that would be great, because then it becomes real to
Yeah,
people,
absolutely.
and then they can start making choices. Or we could hear kind of what are the thoughts that go around that conversation.
I think 2 and 4, basically the bookends, right? And it would be somewhere likely in between.
I also want to point out 2 and 4, if you're just looking at the reductions, it's, the timing. 2
Doesn't
is
say.
November
One's
versus
November, one's
4
May.
is 2027.
Yeah.
Which I think leads to a good discussion point that we need to start thinking about. George talked about his timeline. So when we come back together in June, all this stuff, you know, we could do another community leaders meeting and things like this between that time if we choose to do that. But I just want to remind everybody that we have 3 opportunities to be on the ballot before the state would come in and take us over, basically. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but if things don't pass by November of '27 and we're not getting new money by '28, it's catastrophic for the district. So you look at, there's 3 elections in that time. So we've got November of '26, and then May of '27, November of '27. So that's the part, you could look at the community leaders' feedback based on that first conversation and see where they were at. But that's something to be thinking about in the next few weeks as to the timing of all of this, understanding that we have 3 opportunities to do something where we can still have control of our future versus the state coming in and overseeing our finances.
Well, I just want to add some color to that too. When we do the forecast in August, sometime in September, we'll get a letter from the state asking for a reduction plan. And that reduction plan would be based on the 4 or 5 year outlook. So we would need to address that at that point. And depending on how we address that at that point, then they'll make their next move.
And as we take a look at the next elections, the 3 elections we have, just as a reminder, is that in November of '26, we have the governor race and statewide elections. May, right now, I don't believe there's anything on there from a statewide perspective or a local perspective. And then November of 2027, we would have 4 board seats. We would have the mayoral race, and we would have the 3-year reappraisal would hit right before the November election. So just context to keep in mind as we move forward.
And the ward races.
And the ward races.
Okay.
Lots to think about. Anything else on that, Ms. Hausen?
I'm good. Is everybody else okay? Okay.
Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is our annual review of our student drug testing policy. So linked and available on this agenda item. We're not going to go through everything, but these are things that are already on our website. They're just put them more easily there. So the policy and procedures handbook, which details the policy, the why behind implementing drug testing 2 years ago, and the procedures that will follow, as well as some FAQs that we have. I do want to talk about, George, if you can click on the 3rd bullet, the drug testing data. And so if you can go to the 2nd slide, George, for me. Yeah, so if we start at the end of the first year in 24-25, you could see how many tests we administered. We had 4 positive test results at the high school. And we did a survey of our students at the middle school, high school at the end of the year. One of the questions we asked was, how much do you believe the drug testing program influenced their and their teammates' decisions about drugs and alcohol? And we had 22% of the students that said, hey, I think it had an impact on people saying no, which is one of the reasons for the policy implementation. And then, George, if we go back to the 25-26 year, this gives you a summary of how many tests were issued. So 1,261 tests at the high school. At the high school, we did a combination of 2 different types of tests. We did a draw the line test. Draw the line test means is that students knew when they were going to be tested. Predominantly was before each athletic season, but we had students that were in other clubs or activities that were applicable that came and were tested at that time. And then that's also a combination of random tests. So every month we had selected X amount of students to randomly test. That totaled that number. Middle school, we only tested 150 students. The one change we made in procedures from last year to this year is we eliminated the draw the line at the middle school. So that's why that their number is what it is. This year, we had one positive at the high school. For both years, it was $19 per test. Each year cost us about $30,000. All of the positives came from the draw the line test, and all of the students that tested positive went into our diversion program, which is the second tier of the testing of the policy. The first tier was helping to promote healthy choices for our students and also helping to support students that need help that are using or having some challenges with illegal substances, and all 5 of those students went through our diversion program. This year, one of the things, we didn't do a survey this year, but we took a look at is looking at our drug testing program all as related to recommendations for expulsions. So as you could see, the last 2 years, we've had the drug testing program, and you could see in the right column, that's a combined number of how many recommendations for expulsion we had for students that were found to either be in possession of a THC-related device or under the influence of THC. And so you could see the 2 years that we've implemented the drug testing policy, there has been a decline in recommendations for expulsion. As a note, the high school, probably springtime, after, we installed detectors in the bathrooms that detect loud noises, vapes, and so of those, just in this last year, 16 of the 18 are from the high school, and 7 of them were because of the new vape detectors that students were caught to be in possession of THC devices or vapes. So that is the data that's there. If we go back to the agenda, the Great Lakes Biomedical is who does our testing. It's just their annual report that officially shares their data so everybody could see it. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ms. Hausum, for discussion as to where the board would like to go with the policy moving forward for the upcoming school year.
Is there any comments or questions to start off with?
Is this something that we review annually?
Annually, yeah.
And this is obviously the time frame that we're
Correct,
reviewing
yeah,
it. And the first time this, obviously I could see when we first initiated it.
Yeah.
When did we start talking about this? Like, has it been years in the making type of thing?
We talked about it, Rich and I, years ago, we talked about it with the previous board. Rich was the only member on that board, and it didn't have board support at that time. There was other support, but not board support, and so it was paused, and then we started talking about it again in that 23, 24 range, taking a look at it, and took the end of that school year, and it took us until the fall of 24 to get it up and running. So how this works is this is a policy decision. So we talked conceptually about it. The policy committee got together, provided a recommendation on a policy that would do this, and then the full board voted on it to approve it. We had a bunch of parent engagement and meetings about the implementation of it. And then, because it's a topic that the policy committee in the past has said, hey, this is a discussion of the full board versus just the policy committee, we have it here in the summertime on an annual basis to say, what do we want to do moving forward? Last summer, we made the middle school team made the recommendation, hey, draw the line is a lot for middle school students. Could we not do that? We made the recommendation to the board as a procedural move, and they agreed. So that's kind of a little bit of history.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
And I think the data shows that it is having the effect that we wanted it to have. I'm comfortable with continuing it as is. I recognize the expense is the expense, but the alternative, I'm loath at the alternative. I mean, we're talking about kids' lives. I felt we spent a judicious amount of time crafting a program that followed our values. It wasn't, it was never designed to be punitive. It was never designed to be a game of gotcha, but it also recognized whether it's at the middle school or at the high school, drug use is an increasing and always growing problem. And I think that it was incumbent on us as a board and as a school district to come up with more tools, and this is one of them. Obviously, it's been, it's something that there is no shortage of opinions on, but the data itself, along with the anecdotal conversations I've had, I think it's helpful, and I think I'm comfortable continuing it for another year as is.
Is there an opportunity to adjust, or is it leave as is or done?
No, just like we did last year, there's opportunities to adjust. So that's always an
Because
option.
data guy, obviously looking at the financials and seeing this, obviously the data shows, a decrease in the expulsions, I believe that's on the right. But then I also look at the data of the middle school, and that stands out. Is that necessary? I'm just asking the question. Is it necessary for those grade levels? Those are things that I've been dwelling in my head here the last few days, for sure.
When we first started talking about it, there were some staff concerns, especially with our 8th grade group. And I think that's why we had included the middle school.
The original plan was 6th through 8th.
Yeah.
And based on parent feedback and talking, we eliminated 6th grade. But that is correct, Ms. Hausum. It was, actually, it was a 7th grade issue at the time where we had concerns with drug use there. What I would say is, and Jenny's in the meetings, I think it's been predominantly 8th grade. Of the 2 expulsion hearings we've had that were related to THC in 8th grade, they were not just casual, it was serious issues. And I would say the majority of expulsions at the high school level, talking to students about when this all started, it all reverts back to sometime in 8th grade, end of 8th grade, summer after 8th grade. So right now, 8th grade seems to be the part where kids may start experimenting with it.
I'm going to take a contrarian position. I'm not moved by this data. I actually don't feel like it's very compelling to me personally. One positive test doesn't give me a lot for the amount of tests that we actually deployed. And it's not a cost reason. There are a couple things playing in here. If we look at the column to the right of people that are being expelled, they're obviously not getting caught by testing. So the groups that we need to get in front of aren't the groups that we're able to test, unfortunately. It's expensive for that kind of thing. I think I would rather continue that money to be focused on drug prevention and put it into a different program, some other prevention program, some other tools we can give our parents to use, or intervention methods that we have that we could deploy from a school perspective. As a parent, I've had all of my kids go through this process, and it bothers me deeply from the violation of trust that these kids have with adults in a school setting, I feel like is very compromising. And I've heard it from many anecdotals, but then from my own children and going through this process. And I think that our goal of what we're trying to accomplish is really noble. I think how it was executed was less great, and how it met with kind of students' expectations and parents' expectations. And I think I'm hearing that from a number of different parent communities. So looking at these numbers, I would feel comfortable thanking the test for its duty. I think we did it for 2 years. I think we've learned a lot, improved a lot by not having a lot of positive tests. I would be favor in suspending it for the next year. And then also then taking another look at this column, also annually, on the right side of what's happening with our expulsions. And if there continues to be a problem, perhaps talking about a drug test, but then also talking about what other levers do we have to expose those folks who need help.
I have a question. The vape detectors that we've put in, or whatever we call those, the kids that are getting caught that way, are they also invited to participate in the diversion program? If
They-
they're drugs.
Yes, so through the expulsion process, 99% of the time, if it's a first offense, we provide supports to the students in lieu of expulsion.
Okay, so they do get that same path you
They,
typically.
they do not get, they get a specific path for them.
Sure.
We've offered that program to some students as the diversion piece, but there are structures and supports put in lieu of expulsion to help support them moving forward.
Okay. Just for background context for people who are watching or for Tim, I was part of the board that decided to, give this a shot. And we gave it more than a year because we kind of started mid-year to kind of really look at it. And I have to say that I have the same read on the data as Eric. It isn't compelling me to say this is something that's flagging the right group of kids, the kids that might really be in need. I think that the data specifically shows that the investment we put into the vape detectors is proving useful. That's very new, and we have 7 versus the 5 positive tests in 2 years. I would say that has proven to be effective, especially for offering the alternative path of getting the support that they might need, because that's the ultimate goal, I think, here. I think that has been effective. I don't think the data here shows that the overall test is doing what it needs to, especially for the price tag. And, I said this previously, and I asked that this conversation come up in conversation with the cuts. It's very hard for me to, with this data, knowing that the spreadsheet of what we have to cut is coming, to not really take a hard look at this. Because I know we've had a lot of parents on all sides of the aisles that are not supportive of this. And the data continues to show that, yes, we might get a couple. I think that some of the other methods are more effective. And I asked Cameron for a little bit more data. To me, the expulsion recommendations, it's more correlation, not causation. There's no way to narrow that down and say that's specifically the reason. With the vape detector, you certainly can, right? They're in there, we know they're in there, like, that's without a doubt causation. That's correlation. There's too many other factors in play, so it's hard for me to say that if that's the only data point that's saying, yes, maybe this is doing what we needed to do, it doesn't work for me. And we have some other, I don't know, I won't read the whole thing, but your administrators spoke to it. And based on their feedback, there was a lot of concern about the amount of time it takes the personnel to do this testing. And they also had some concerns about whether, the paragraph about potential negatives was a lot longer than the positives. I guess that's the best way I could put it. So even reading our own administrators who are living this, I didn't get an overwhelming support either. So I think at this point, I'm in Eric's camp of pausing it. And I liked your idea about, are there other ways that we can support the students that need this? I don't know what that could look like, but I like asking the question.
Well, year one, I had thought about perhaps us buying tests as a school district, and you can come in as a family and collect those, and so that the drug test could be done at a person's house, which then becomes respectful of the family environment, which I feel like this is a family issue. I feel like this is a little bit outside the lane for schools. And it would also then help defray some of that expense. If we decided, you're allowed 2 kits per half year, or 2 per year, or whatever is it that we decided. And if they can come get them in some way, I would leave it to you. I don't know how to make it anonymous, but I would like to propose some privacy protections around something like that as one option. But then there's also programming. There's other schools that had positive rates that were much higher than ours in Columbus, and they ultimately decided to not go this way, and they used that money, they diverted it into early outreach, other programs and training efforts. And I don't know how that ended up, but I thought that was kind of an interesting data point of, we weren't the only ones to kind of go down a path and then decide, is this the appropriate thing for us? And that particular school district decided, no, this didn't make sense for them, and they had it was 4 times higher than our positive rate.
to me, where, where my head goes is, cost is almost a non-factor. I mean, you look at some of the things we have to discuss down the road, like, this really doesn't do it for me in terms of the cost. Broad brush approach, which is kind of what it seems like we have right now across the board, multiple different, obviously the different schools, draw the line, random testings, extracurriculars. Is that the answer? I'm not sure. The thing that I always come back to is health and safety is number one for me and my family. So that's kind of where I always focus in on, is like, is this making our schools healthier and safer? I don't know. You know, that's something I'm questioning right now. But, you know, maybe as is might not be the answer either, and maybe getting a little bit more focused on it. Because extracurriculars are extracurriculars, and those are not givens, but add-ons and perks, I guess you would say. So maybe within that realm could make sense.
So just for your clarification, the program as is only for extracurriculars, because that's what we're only allowed to legally do.
And
We're not-
driving passes.
Even the random
The
as well?
Yes.
So it's extracurricular, if you choose to engage in extracurriculars or driving by the Supreme Court of the United States, those, the drug testing is legal. We can't do that across the board. Then you're infringing on the other right to a child has the right to an education. So it is specifically for extracurriculars, and it is for driving, the privilege to drive to school. Regardless of where you come down, part of the rationale is those are, as you said, perks. And so by law, we can set requirements for perks. And I think there is some reasonableness to the idea of if the taxpayer is going to provide these kinds of educational opportunities, athletics, music, et cetera, it's reasonable to say we want those, we want to be assured that you're drug-free. Is it perfect? Nothing's perfect.
I think that teases out something, though, Mr. Holmes, in that oftentimes if we find someone who's on drugs, right, I think one of the things that we do as an intervention technique is encourage them to find clubs and other outreaches and get them busy. And so we're testing in places you wouldn't suspect to find positive necessarily, the athlete community and stuff like that. I think the parking lot is probably the broadest common denominator that we can achieve. So we would be taking away something that we would typically encourage people to take part of as a way to divert kind of that drug use and finding a different group. Just to add color about what this is like, we tape off, it seems very institutional from what I've heard from my kids. We tape off the sinks, dye goes into the toilets. It's as you would expect it to be, sort of in a prison type system, which is very, these are awkward years for a lot of folks. And we lean into everyone is the same. And so I think that's kind of the nature of these things, but I'll tell you how that comes across as an example. Athlete, girl, younger, 7th or 8th grade, asked to go into the drug testing and has a sprained arm, right? Medical devices asked to unwrap the whole thing to prove that there is no other urine or contrast samples available and stuff like that. So it feels like we've really over-rotated on this whole drug policy. It looks like it's prove that you're not taking drugs versus we're trying to spot people to help them. It feels like, I know that's how we want it to sort of present itself, and it's not how it presents itself. And I think with the kids, there's some emotional costs, not just the financial costs, and the trust in their grown-ups in a school environment when we're asking them to be trusting of grown-ups. And they have no power in this situation, right? And so I find that very uncomfortable.
Just if I could add a little bit, I'm not comfortable with it going away completely. Something that sticks with me every time we talk about this is Jenny read an article probably in 2023, I don't know if you remember, about the potency of THC, and maybe you could, if you're comfortable speaking to it, and how it affects athletes when they go out on the field and they have that in their system, and what could potentially happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, if I recall, it's just, again, it was an article, right? So I don't want, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but, you know, in terms of the potency of it, in terms of what we have been hearing as we experience these expulsion hearings, as we go through this, it's stronger now, and it can affect kids, especially if they're taking other medications like ADHD medications and things like that. It can either nullify that or exacerbate it, or if they have pre-existing conditions, it can obviously interfere with that. And we've had some situations like that with our kids, especially at the high school level. So again, it's scary to me. It's just a scary thing to have, students take something that somebody gives them that they really don't know what's in it. And whether it's peer pressure or they just want to feel like they belong, it's just scary that, that they would do that. So that's, I think, what I added.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that sounds terrible, and I am worried about that. At the same time, I don't think this testing is showing from the data that it's actually catching those people. So if we were catching athletes who are doing THC, it's through some other mechanisms or means of reporting, because this isn't showing that. And so we still have this process that we wanted to do something, and it feels good, right? It feels like the right thing to do. But the data isn't telling us that it's particularly useful. And even I'm disappointed by students reporting less than a quarter of them finding the testing itself as a compelling reason not to do things. That's not very strong. I would have hoped as a culture it would be a lot higher than that if we would continue to do it.
The other thing that led to my decision to vote yes for it when we first started it was probably 2021, 22, 23, I would go to spin classes at the rec center, and I had a mom in my ear every morning. You need to test the baseball team. You need to test, as an example, I'm not, but like there are parents that do appreciate the fact that we do this. And like Rich said, it's not punitive, it's another layer to be helpful. And recently, Strongsville became globally, not just state, not nation, we became globally known for a crash that happened here in 2022.
Totally
And
agree.
I can't help but think if this had been in place, we can't go back and change the past. But, a child in that car played on our football team. A child in that car had a parking pass in our parking lot. My kids grew up with those kids. And I just think if we save one life, $25,000 a year is worth it.
I think for me, it comes down to a parent issue. I think what I saw there was parenting that I wouldn't be comfortable with, and I feel like this issue is a parenting issue. And if we as a school can help out parents, but keeping that in the home, the school can't overcompensate for parents making poor choices. And I don't think that's folly to even try. That's not our lane. And I feel like this with people's bodies and what goes into their bodies is a parent and a family activity. That's where the focus should be. And if we're catching them because they're impaired in school, or they're doing things in our bathrooms or on our property, then that is our lane, and we have to be involved. But this particular testing, why we've done it, we've taken those steps, and it hasn't borne the fruit that perhaps we were thinking of rampant drugs, for whatever reason. We heard anecdotals, was it the last meeting or something like that, where we pre-announce things and people prepare, or whatever that looks like, right? There's some sort of lead time involved that perhaps people are slipping through the cracks that way. And if that's how we're doing this, that we're not serious in a way of catching people and intervening when they want to be they need that kind of intervention. So that's where I'm at. I'm not asking for a moratorium on this forever. I think maybe a year pause. We've done 2 years on and see kind of what happens. And the data is telling us something different, then we address it then. I don't want to say
Do you
any more
need
about it, though. I
direction?
think that's.
Do you need direction tonight, right now?
No, the only thing we've done, the only thing we've done is we've talked to Great Lakes Biomedical. We've held the date for the fall, draw the line. It's just out of courtesy to them to loop back and let them know whether or not we're going to keep that, as well as, Sue and Jason at the high school to start planning purposes. So there's nothing that needs to be done tonight, but,
Could you back out the draw the line numbers if we wanted to just do random testing? I'm sorry.
yeah, if you click on,
I missed
at least
that,
for
I'm
this
sorry.
year. No, that's okay.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, if you click on the one.
1067.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Right,
Thank
the
you.
randoms are whatever we want them to be.
Right.
And what I mean by that is we say, hey, we're gonna do random tests on a monthly basis, and we pick how many kids that's gonna be. So we tell the testing company, we wanna test 30 kids, we wanna test 20 kids, we wanna test 50 kids. So, yes, one sample could be, hey, or one modification could be eliminate, draw the line. Draw the line, again, is the announced, hey, on this date, you're gonna come because you're a fall athlete, and you have a parking pass, and you're gonna do the drug test. And we are just gonna put all the kids on the list that are eligible, and every month, we're gonna pull whatever number we designate, and those kids are gonna get tested. So that's the other option that you have. I mean, there's lots of options right now
Right.
for what you're talking
Right,
about.
okay. Any other
And-
questions?
Not a question, but another comment. I was trying to go back to the agenda, but I can't find it, oh, here it is. At some point, if we do go forward or not, that we had on the July 9th meeting last year, was the board voted for the cost of
Yeah.
the drug testing
Okay.
and the contract for the annual
Okay.
contract, so that would be the,
Is-
not change in policy, but that would be at least the vote for the Great Lakes Biomedical to administer the drug testing.
So is everybody comfortable putting that on the first agenda in July?
You just vote on it there?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on that item?
Okay.
All right, moving on, we've got a number of donation agreements for the high school football turf project. So, George, help me out. As I've shared with the board, we had a number of these, we were waiting for them to be signed. There's no exhibit for number 3 for the athletic booster, so I'm assuming we were hoping it would come in, but it didn't. Do we just, we'll move it to the 30th. So I don't want to vote on it here, so can we just skip it, or do we table it, or how does that work?
There's been no motion, so we'll just skip it.
Skip it?
We'll
Okay,
table it.
so we'll bring that back on the
Yeah, we'll table
30th, once it's all, signatures are all there. So all of these 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all similar donations to the project. And again, this helps support the entire project of the middle school and high school turf is completely funded through donation dollars and reimbursements that we get over these agreements. So these are all 10-year agreements, because that's how long the turf is projected to last. Our last turf lasted 11 years. The majority of these agreements, they pay the amount donated over the first 5 years, but they get the benefits that are there for the full 10. The agreement under number 7 is going to be paid over the full 10 years instead of the 5. So that is a change there. And then there's benefits because of that. So the benefits are going to be later in the agenda, which is one of those, if you remember last time we did the turf project, back where the marching band were, there were all the tent signs, the triangular signs that said, hey, thanks to Sim, thanks to City Club, all these people. Well, those signs became challenging after 3 or 4 years. And so what we're doing this time is we are doing inlays in the edges of the field. So we will recognize in the actual turf our donors that are there. So starting off under item number 4, we're going to skip number 3, that'll be June 30th. Number 4, Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the donation agreement between the Strongsville City School District and Strongsville City Club be approved as listed in exhibit, and this is a $50,000 donation from the City Club, and this is an action item.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Motion by Ms. Bissell, second by Mr. Wall. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
and Mr. Holmes.
I'll abstain due to my membership.
Motion passes.
Moving on to the next two. The next two are both $25,000 donations. And in addition to what I've already shared, as great partners with the SFL and the Youth Lacrosse Association, there's also field time built into this. So giving people access to our middle school field as well as our high school field during certain times that hold special events and special games. So we're really excited about that. So under number 5, be it resolved upon my recommendation that the donation agreement between the district and the Strongsville Football League be approved as listed in the exhibit.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 6, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the donation agreement between the district and Strongsville Youth Lacrosse be approved as listed in the exhibit.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
and Mrs. Hausum.
Yes. Motion passes.
And lastly, the last agreement, this is, as you may know, when you walk into, on the home side, into the stadium, there's green arches that are naming rights for our track. So the Martin family will now be, the naming rights for our track. Dan Martin's been a long time track supporter, coach, and just all-around athletic supporter of our district, so we're thrilled to have the next 10 years the track named after his family. So be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the donation agreement between the district and Dan Martin be approved as listed in the exhibit.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
and Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
And so, first of all, a sincere thank you to our organizations and the Martin family for their continued support of our athletics and our turf project. This doesn't happen without the generosity and the donations of groups like this. And we will have more of them on the next meeting agenda that are still being finalized. And a special thank you to Jason Kepler, who worked directly with all of these organizations to make this happen. So appreciate him and his efforts. Any questions on my report? So if we go to the business services, this is all related to the donation agreements that we've just done. There's been some change orders there's cost to putting these into the turf. Just so you're aware, this is something that has happened in all of our turf projects. There's donations. Those donations have perks with them, and those perks are paid for partially, or paid for out of the donation. So, again, this is an action item, and you could see all of this is being paid out of the turf fund. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the change order proposal for the inlays due to the sponsorship agreements in the amount of $18,966.04 from the January 22nd agenda for the turf replacement project at Packatan Stadium. This makes it the total cost of the project with Field Turf USA is not to exceed $550,010.64.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
George, can you take the roll?
And before I do, I just want to, I just wanted to, I put on the exhibit on the screen, but I just wanted to call out the inlays that the change orders for, based on the sponsorship agreements. It's for the Strongsville Football League, the Strongsville City Club, the Strongsville Chamber of Commerce, Strongsville Mustangs, Athletic Boosters, and the Strongsville Lacrosse.
Is there any concern that we're approving the athletic boosters prior to us approving the donation agreement?
I don't believe so, because it's part of it,
Okay.
unless you agree
No, I
otherwise.
don't.
But they needed to move forward with this, so the turf did not.
I understand
You
that.
get
I just
delayed.
want to make sure we're not doing anything legally inappropriate, putting the cart before the horse.
No, this just gives them the authority, and then I'll let Jason know as they're moving forward with it if they need to pull back.
Okay.
So that way nothing's delayed.
Good.
My questions have been answered.
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
I am abstaining because I'm a trustee for the Chamber of Commerce and we vote on our donations.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
And Mr. Helms?
I'm abstaining because I'm a voting member of the Strongsville City Club.
The motion passes 3-0. And 2 abstentions. Thank you both.
Moving on to the curriculum, this, Mr. Helms, for you, sometimes we have to approve things backdated because they happen between meetings, and so this is one of them. So, as you know, we had great, Hannah Jiga had a state champion, and we just shared in our last update with everybody. Had a phenomenal showing at the state meet, but this was for them to go down to the high school boys and girls track meet in Columbus, and that took place June 5th and 7th. We provided transportation by the district, and lodging and meals were paid by the teams and the athletic boosters. Nothing under student services. We've got a number of human resource recommendations for you under number 1. We have dismissals. Be it resolved upon my recommendation that under Article 11, Section 1 of the negotiated agreement, that the following dismissals of a probationary non-certificated employee be approved. Number 2 is a resignation of certificated staff. Under item 3 is resignation of non-certificated staff. Under item 4 is resignations of a non-certificated athletic supplemental. Under number 5, we had an additional retirement of a teacher come in, and so although we weren't able to recognize Cindy, she's been a long-time valued employee of our school district, and had an opportunity to personally talk to her before she retired, and so we wish her well in her retirement. Under 6, we've got the appointment of leadership, so this is Jason, who you met earlier today. Under number 7, we've got an appointment of certificated staff. 8 is appointments of certificated athletic supplemental
Cameron,
contracts.
Can I ask a question about that one?
Please.
Lainey Ventimiglia is both the head and assistant coach for the cross country. Is that just a way of dividing contracts for the financial purposes?
Jenny, are you aware?
Okay, I just thought that was unusual.
I mean, it
Could be, yeah.
It could be, but I'm not sure on this one. I don't want to say yes or no, because I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
What we could do, Ms. Bissell, is we'll verify and get you information afterwards. We can make a correction if
Yeah.
we need to make a correction. I can't remember if I said it or not, but number 9 is appointments of non-certificated athletic supplemental contracts. 10 is the appointment of non-certificated substitutes. 11, as you know, this time of year, we have extended school year to help support, provide services for our students with disabilities, and that's the appointments of staff for that program. Under item 12, we have appointments for Kids Link Summer Program. This is for transportation to that program. Under item 13, we have the appointments of Safety Town Summer Programming. So these, again, are bus drivers for that program. Under item 14, we have a stipend for an AP coordinator at the high school. And we have a revision under number 15, as you could see, from the May 28th meeting, Aubrey Alexander, she's being revised from a 1 FTE to a half-time FTE cross-country assistant coach at the high school. Any questions for HR?
On the stipend for AP, is the year we finally got back to it, or is it a typo?
No, it's correct.
That's correct.
So it comes in, we received the stipend a year after, or we received, the College Board sends us the dollars for the stipend, and it comes a year after. So
you.
this year's stipend will be paid for next year.
With that, that concludes my report.
Great. Any other questions for Cameron?
I just have one more. It relates to the same subject, just to make sure, I don't need clarity right now, but the revision
Yeah.
is making Aubrey Alexander halftime assistant coach, but number 9 is making her a halftime head coach. So I just want to make sure that whatever is going on there,
Yeah.
that it's what
Yeah.
it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it will.
All right, at this point, we have the adoption of the consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type dash action consent, which items constitute the consent calendar, are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or the superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do we have anything that needs to be removed? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes,
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
motion carries. Next, we have our third reading of board policies. This is action procedural. Be it resolved that the Strongsville City Schools Board of Education approves the listed bylaws and policies. George, do we need a motion for that?
We do.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes,
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
motion carries. Next, we have Board of Education Other Miscellaneous. Does anyone have any miscellaneous announcements? All right,
I
hearing
think the
none.
rib burn-off is coming up before our next
Oh,
meeting.
yeah.
Not- I
The
believe it's
19th for burn-off. 18th, 19th, 20th.
Correct.
It's
Yes.
Tim's event.
If you're looking for me, that's where I'll be.
Did you know it's the 18th?
I did. I had to go back in my head of my calendar because that's a big weekend for my wife and our wedding anniversary, so I have to remember
You're
those
doing a
dates.
rib burn-off for your wedding
We
anniversary?
are,
Oh, my.
and we both get to work it too.
You just showed us.
On the 22nd. It's a big week. Yeah. All right, at this point, we do have need to enter into executive session to consider the employment of a public employee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes,
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
motion carries. We'll enter into executive session about 8:35. We don't see need to resume public session, so everyone have a great night.